Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a very special 5x5 this evening. While we are waiting for the start of the new season, a little 5x5 to get us all in the mood. Just so that we know what the plan is for this evening, we do have some very special announcements to make. I would like to welcome Stephen Dodge, who's going to be joining me in the commentary box this evening for this very special event. Stephen, welcome to SARCO, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Mr. Hall, thank you very much for the very warm introduction. It's great to be here. I think we're looking forward to some epic racing this coming season, especially with a little warm-up like this. And we're going to find ourselves in the midst of some very hot racing, I suspect. We've got a number of former champions returning here tonight, and a number of fantastic cars, and a number of fantastic tracks. And it should make some very interesting racing. We're going to see if these guys can pull out miracles from wherever they are, from out of their rabbits from out of their hats, and we're going to see if this is a precursor for how the upcoming seasons will go.
Awesome. So to everybody, we kind of know what is happening and what this is. This is a 5x5, and 5x5 basically means that we have 5 races of 5 tracks. There are 5 different cars that we race, 5-minute qualifying and 5 laps. 5 different tracks, and if we have a look at the current lineup, let's get that up quickly. There we go. So you will be able to see that up on the screen now. We are going to be starting at Rapuna Park in the BMW 320 TC, moving on to Watkins Glen in the Janetta GT4. That one was for Terry. We move on to Sugo Sportsland. We're going to be driving in the Ferrari, the 333. That is Ross's favorite car. Unfortunately, he isn't joining us this evening. We then have a trip to Austria where we go to the Red Bull Ring, driving the Corvette GTE. And then finally, we'll go to Texas Road Course in an LMP Ligier. How does that sound to you guys? I'll take that as fantastic.
Sounds awesome.
What I can say is coconuts to you all. So for everyone who doesn't know what code coconuts are, we are officially code coconuts, and generally if there's minor incidences, somebody generally wants to say something about someone's mother, and we generally just replace a few of those words with coconuts, and then it remains family friendly. So guys, I see that the thumbs are all up. Let's go racing.
Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, enjoy. Enjoy.
Alright, Stephen, just making sure that you're still able to hear me, because we are now officially away from all the drivers.
First up tonight, we find ourselves at Rapuna Park out in New Zealand, an amazing track. It has been renamed. It's now officially known as the Mike Aero Motorsport Park.
That is fantastic, and you can see we're actually on the club version of this track, so a lot tighter. That sector 2 is very short, very twisty, and we're definitely going to see whether the guys are able to control that BMW, the touring car, through that section. We have kept the weather pretty standard throughout the races this evening. We haven't thrown in any crazy weather for the guys, so hopefully they're enjoying it. So just to have a look at some of the drivers that are joining us this evening, we do have some, as Stephen had mentioned, some returning champions, and unfortunately we were trying to get Bruno to join us, but he had some NAT issues, but we are 15 strong here. I do see we have some comments already coming up on the YouTube channel. So my brother's joined, and Memo, you're supposed to be racing. What are you doing on the YouTube channel? So we are currently on board with Fast Fossil. That is his PSN name, but his real life name is actually Alvain. See him going past, I believe that was Robert that was on off the track there. And now coming back on. So we're definitely going to have some of the guys battling with pulling away on the line here. That turn 1 is absolutely terrible on the brakes. You'll see that what happens is as you're going in, you've got a little kink just before turn 1, and you're generally braking with the car sideways. So to my brother Sienki, welcome, welcome, welcome. We do definitely need to get you up and running here. So you can see going on the brakes a little bit wide there. That is Alvain who's gone wide. Steve, I'm not sure if you want to just hit that R1 button and let's see if we can get up the order somewhere and change some of the drivers. So guys, this is Steven's first official race with us here at SARCO. This is all in preparation for the upcoming seasons that we have. We have the Formula Renault 3.5 V8 Formula car. That's going to be an absolute cracker. Then we also have on a Monday night the Group A that is restricted to just 3 cars. We will be in the Mercedes-Benz, the BMW, as well as the Ford Cosworth, and boy oh boy is that car a tricky one to drive. So hi there Terran, welcome to the stream. I would believe that you are supporting Sly Pete, and the only reason I know that is because you have the same surname as him. So looking at some of the lap times that are coming up, we have Jake's 1 minute flat. Christopher, he's right behind him, 0.3 off the pace here with Marius, 1.4 seconds, but I do expect a big power slide there for Alvain coming through turn number 4 there. So Stephen, I'm just checking that you are still with me. So guys, I'm not too sure what has happened here. Unfortunately, not finding Stephen. Stephen, are you there? Okay guys, while we try and sort this difficulty out, we do have just a few more minutes left of this qualifying. Let's see if we can get Stephen back. Okay, so the qualifying is over. Jakes went fastest with Christopher in second. Marius just managing to break that. Oh, we see there's Bruno. He's now joined us. So Bruno, I see you also are on the stream as well. We definitely want to get you in here. So that continue button is for me. Let's just push X. We'll have a little 2-minute syncing moment here. We're waiting for the cars. You see that as they just snap on the grid. That is part of the syncing. And as that wonderful meme says, this is the German Coast Guard. What are you syncing about? So that was what we were waiting for. There's the syncing. So all cars will be ready. We're going to be waiting for the green lights. Great start there for Christopher. Jake seems to bog off the line, and he's just been completely swamped by the likes of Steven and Marius. But now they come into turn number 1. Christopher, here's away. The guys are pretty close coming into turn 1, but no bumping. That's really good to see. Lots of discipline there. Christopher's starting to open up a gap away from Morris. That's a little bit wide. That's Christopher. He has gone completely off the track and rejoined on the other side. He's going to have to go back. So that is a Marius now in first place. On board, we got Stephen, who we're watching. He's up to second, with Marshall down in fourth, with him and Brandon having an almighty battle. They're coming through that sector 2. So Marius, unfortunately, not racing with us this past season. He did go and have another GTE series, but here he is back. Looking forward to seeing him on possibly a Monday night. We know that he has entered for the Thursday. But now Marius here on lap number 2. He leads with Stephen in second, Marshall's in third, Brandon up to fourth, and Terry, boy oh boy, Terry, he's in 5th place with the Horn Dog in 6th. That is Andrew Horn in 6th place with Duppy 7th. Memo, that's my cousin, family all the way from Greece. He's now falling down. As I said that, unfortunately, commentators curse there for him. Stephen going very wide there. But Marius very much in control of this race. Terry up to 5th place, Andrew Horn in 6th, Duppy 7th, that's Alvain, he's in 8th place. In 9th, oh, I had a bit of a momentary lapse there. I was thinking of Tyler, but that's actually not Tyler, that is his brother-in-law. That's Robert in 9th place, with Troy in 10th place. Jake's unfortunately down in 11th place. Sly Pete, he's in 12th. Christopher in 13th, and Memo down in 14th. So unfortunately we have lost a driver here. Just about a side-by-side for Terry and Marshall going into turn number 1 here on the lap number 3. Remember, going into the pits, he's probably picked himself up some damage, so he'll definitely go and get that car repaired. But Marius is starting to run away with it. 2.3 seconds ahead of the second place Stephen. So there's Memo now coming out of the pits, just getting those little repairs done. Obviously a little bit of suspension damage would have impacted him going around the corners, and it just make it very difficult to drive. But it is great to see some of the real world drivers up in the middle pack fighting it out there. Long string of cars as they begin lap number 4, and this is the first of 5 different heats we have here in this format. So this is definitely not what I wanted to see from a team point of view. Myself and Jakes and Christopher driving for the Green Mumbas, and here we have a silverback driver running away with that. Brandon getting that very sideways. That outside curb will definitely catch you. We've got to be very careful there, but Brandon looking very comfortable here in 3rd place. You can see a very, very twisty second sector here at Rapuna Park. So Stephen, I'm not sure if you can hear me. If you can, what do you think about the racing so far? So guys, it does seem like we don't have comms with Stephen, so we'll definitely have to just set up a chat party for the next round, but we'll definitely get him back in. But on board with Morris, and we'll see here as he comes into turn number 3, a little touch of the brakes, get the nose in, flicking it through the corner, nice and tight, staying off that curb on the outside. That's Stephen very wide once again. Then here into the hairpin, this part of the GP track you would actually be keeping to the left, but you then just switch it up, turn to the right through this little twisty section. And I must say, these BMW touring cars are extremely fun to drive. They are so stable, but they've got just enough power just to kick that rear out and make it very interesting. So Morris, he will win the first race here with Stephen. We're talking about Stephen with a Stephen in second place, not Stephen indeed. Brandon, a great third for him there. Marshall bringing it home in 4th place. That's Terry in 5th. A great result for Terry there. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that. The Horn Dog, he comes home in 6th position. With Duppy, a very late entry into this evening's races. He comes home in 7th. Alvain, he finishes in 8th place. 8th place. Then Robert, he is in 9th. Jake's unfortunately down in 10th position. So I did hear a little click in the background, which means I can possibly hear you now. Stephen, not sure why we had lost you in the race. So we are just wrapping up the final points here. Christopher, he is unfortunately down in 11th place, losing it going into turn number 3 there. We then have Troy down in 12th place with Sly Pete in 13th position, and Memo bringing up the rear in 14th place. So unfortunately we did lose Alex, but I'm sure we'll get him back for the next round. Let's just get these points updated.
When I came back,
so that was a crazy race, guys. Just seen the discipline, absolutely fantastic. And unfortunately we did lose some of the chat there with Stephen indeed, so we will be going into a chat party. But Christopher, a very unfortunate mishap for you there.
yes, absolutely. Unfortunate, but don't worry, there's 4 more coming, and I'll definitely be pushing as hard as possible.
And then let's start off with Brandon getting yourself a 3rd place. How do you feel about that 3rd position?
Fantastic, man. That was pretty cool. Funny little track there.
Yeah, generally on the GP track you want to keep tight in that turn number 4 and actually take it as a hairpin, but now you've got to swing the car back to the right, so definitely tricky. And Stephen, it seems like everything just opened up for you and walked away with a 2nd.
No, definitely. Thanks to Jakes for doing that little mistake there. He just opened the field up for us, and Morris was just too far in front of me. Couldn't catch him.
And then Morris definitely putting your stamp, making a comeback with the first victory. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I was lucky because of the incidents that happened. So I got a little bit of a gap. So that was very cool. Cool start.
Awesome. So guys, we do have the 2nd of the tracks up. So Stephen, indeed, if you want to just send me a party chat. Let's try it that way. And then we'll come back and just have a chat to the guys after the next race.
What car must we have now? The GT Janetta?
The Janetta, please. Yes.
Jakes, which one are you going to take? Yellow or red mirrors?
Christopher, just so that you know, your color is the red mirrors. Oh, you guys go and swap it up now. Come on.
If I had a choice in this, I would have had the red mirrors. But it's all right. I'm new to the team, so I'll take what comes.
No, you know what, Christopher? I am always used to the yellow ones. Yeah.
Okay.
And we had this mistake because I didn't have my yellow mirror, so let's change it.
Right.
Okay, no, I like that.
Thank you, guys. I'm just going to go and join Stephen Indeed. Get those thumbs up when you're ready, and let's go racing round number 2.
Flat out.
Robert, what's your car number?
I have no idea. My race car, actual race car.
Dippy, you need to change to a Janetta.
Okay, Stephen, I am with you. Can you hear me?
Trying to. I've got you somewhat. Somewhat. You got me?
Yes, I do. I have you loud and clear.
Okay.
So yes, unfortunately, for some reason we didn't pick you up on the capture card, but I do know that now we will definitely get you.
Have you got me loud and clear? All right. Cool.
We have you loud and clear.
Okay.
So just some of your thoughts while we go into this next race. How did you find that first race here at SARCO?
Tell you what, that was some close racing right there. It was a pity that some of the guys, they didn't manage to keep their cars on the track. It seemed that there were a number of offs, and there was some close racing. But in the end, it was a very clear 1, 2, 3. There wasn't anything in those first 3. I think there was an interesting battle that was starting to come up in the 4th and 5th places, and that was something that could have gone on if that race was just a little bit longer. And we will have to see if those drivers can pull off a similar kind of battle in our second race.
So look, we're now here at Watkins Glen Short. It is a very fast-paced track. Turn number 1 generally doesn't have too many incidences because the guys do give enough space. Going up through the chicane section, it is going into the bus stop. That is where the guys generally might be getting it wrong. A few little moments of hesitation on those brakes, and guess what? You're going to have 3 or 4 cars piling up against each other.
Well, this is a very, very interesting track. I think it's a nice one. I mean, located just outside of inside New York State. It was once home to the Formula One US Grand Prix, hosted for 20 consecutive years between 1961 and 1980. And that meant that some of the racing that turned out there was very, very interesting. In fact, has hosted almost every other class of racing, including the World Sports Car Championship, the Charleston, the Can-Am, the NASCAR Cup Series, and the International Motorsports Association races, as well as the IndyCar Series. So this track has got a lot of history to speak for. Hopefully our drivers tonight can make the most of it.
Well, you can see Jake's getting it very wrong there, coming out of the inner loop, the section, but now we'll actually go around the outer loop, and this tightens up. Now we'll keep to the right hand side and actually cutting out the what they call the boot here at Watkins Glen, turns 6, 7, 8 and 9. So we literally go from turn 5 into turn number 10, touch those brakes, get the nose down, flick it through turn number 10, and you'll see Jake's closing up on it looked like that was Alvane that he went past there in the purple colors. Well, that's actually showing that that's Marius.
Let's see what's happening at the front of our qualifiers over here. Oh, it's close. It's very close up top there.
So here we see the guys actually having a battle. This is not what you should be doing. Oh, little touch there. I don't know why guys are racing each other here in the qualifying.
That is the result. And I'll tell you what, that's what shows you that car, that Janetta, is a very, very light car. It is designed for racing. It is not a car that you'll find on the road. And with a very powerful motor up front, driving those rear wheels, and it means they can get quite twitchy. But lose it, and you'll find yourself off the track very, very easily.
It did look like Alex was a little bit stuck there, so I know that we're going to have probably 3 or 4 drivers that are going to be backing to get down a lap, and there's Andrew getting it very loose on the back there. And just remember that these cars have been locked in the setup, so they get to choose between a stable or a loose, and I always say loose is fast, and that's what they should be driving.
Let's go down the order a little bit, and we'll find ourselves going down to Troy.
Here comes Troy through the inner loop, having come off the back straight. You see cars in the background. I don't think these guys have got the tires warm enough, but they're still attacking these corners. So we do have some times up. That's Jakes. He's currently gone fastest, with Troy getting it very sideways, with Marshall in front of him. See a little green car in the background weaving left and right. I think that is Christopher trying to get some heat in those tires. See Marshall sliding it through the last corner here, turn number 11.
Let's get ourselves up to the leader. Jake up in front.
And Jakes actually has Morris in front of him. We'll see Morris looks like he might just get out the way. There he does indeed. Was he holding his line? Jake's trying to go around the outside at turn number 5. I didn't even know that was possible in these cars, but that is really good to see.
And that's why Jake is putting in a top time with a time of 1 minute 15 seconds, just under 1:16, which is very quick for this track. And this could be an interesting precursor. We will find ourselves, I think, with a very good contender here for the top spot in the main race.
Yeah, I definitely want to say yes, but we still have to get the likes of Christopher to cross the line to put in a good lap. Brandon's been doing really well as now. We actually need to be looking out for Steven, so he too might just put in a good time there. So as Steven crosses the line, let's see, that puts him second fastest, so half a second behind Jakes. Duppy, he's gone into third. He's a second behind Jakes' quickest time. And as the guys start... Yep.
Let's see us down to Andrew. He's going to be coming across the line very shortly. Has he got the right setup for this car? Down the straight he goes. Coming into a hard left.
So that looks like a great overtake there. But that was actually Robert... No, it wasn't. It was actually Alex who got in front of him there, going through the inner loop.
Is Andrew experiencing some issues with that car? It looks like he might not. He may have overcooked it on that corner coming in there.
He might have just hesitated just a little bit, having seen Alex closing up on him quite rapidly. So that might have been why he had come off the pace there.
We do have a new fastest time by just 1/100th of a second. Oh, here we go.
There goes Jakes once again going even faster.
That's quite a significant lead now. That's with more than half a second in the lead.
I do want to see where Marius ends up in this qualifying, but I also don't want to discredit Brandon just yet. So we'll keep our eyes very close to that timing as the qualifying now ends here, round number 2.
Very good. That's some nice racing on in the qualifying section. I think we're going to find ourselves with some very hot racing in the main section to come. Well done, gentlemen.
So that is the current qualifier. So Jakes, he puts himself pole with Christopher in second and Stephen in third. Duppy, he puts in a surprising 4th place. A really great effort there for him. And Marius down in 5th place. I'm just wondering whether Marius wasn't able to get it together and actually get some clean track to put in a good time there.
But look at the time between who we found ourselves with, Christopher and Stephen. There is less than 0.005 of a second in there. That's going to be a very interesting race between those two. I think the battle for second and third is going to be a hot one.
That's what we want to see. So let's give these guys their 2-minute warning, so they have 2 minutes to select the setup that they want to drive with. And we'll chase this action going into turn number 1.
There we see the rear of the lead car. Jake's having put in a really, really quick time, just over 1:15. He'll be selecting his setup.
So we have now synced. We're waiting for the green lights.
And they're all.
It is green lights and we are racing, and there seems to be a car that was stopped on the middle of the track there. Not sure what's going on there, but they side by side, Stephen and Christopher going into turn number 1. So Jake C leads with Stephen second, Christopher's in third, Marius in 4th place, Duppy he's in 5th with Brandon 6th, then Peter in 7th place. But a little bit of commotion further down the field, not sure whether somebody jumped the start, hit the brakes and was probably stalled it.
Let's go up to the front. We'll find Jake's. Oh, he's got a real legion of angry cars behind him there.
Well, a little move to the inside, but Jake's is away cleanly. Ooh, little touch of that curb. You can see how it just pulled the nose of that car in, having lost the rear. Little tap of the rear there. Not too sure who that was.
It was Stephen. He managed to get himself. He's dropped down to 5th. Was in 3rd, I believe. He's got some work to do to get himself back up there now. Let's go back to the leader.
So that is Jake's now being hounded by Christopher. See a little flick of the rear there for Christopher going into turn number 10. And Duppy, he's now in 3rd place. And Brandon, he finds himself in luck once again. He was in 5th place. He's now moved up to 4th. So definitely making the most of this. So thank you to everybody who has joined us on the stream. Thank you for joining us. This is just a little 5x5 fun race action, just to whet everybody's appetite for the main races that will start this coming Thursday. We're on board with Christopher Jakes going a little bit wide, coming out of turn number 3. He touched the outside wall. That's going to impact his straight line speed. They would be a side by side. Christopher now goes in front, but Jakes would be on the inside. Will Christopher leave him enough space?
Oh, it's tight going through there. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at our man in number 2. Oh, it's very, very close.
So Jake's definitely needing to jump behind Christopher, going out of the inner loop.
Third place, we'll find ourselves quite a long way back. It's still 2 minutes or 2 seconds, almost 3 seconds back. Now in the order, we find ourselves with an interesting battle in the 5th and 6th between.
So that is Robert, and just in front of him that was Peter, but Peter losing it, going off the track. A little bit of contact there. That's Robert up against the wall in turn number 10. Just hope he doesn't get in the way of the guys coming from behind him. So Morris managing to get around him, no problems there. If we can just jump to that outside view there, please, Stephen. There we go. That is a trackside cam. You're quite right. So a little mistake there for Robert, unfortunately getting right up on the inside of that curb on turn number 10. And that was due to Peter running a little bit wide going into turn number 10. And unfortunately the two of them touching, and Robert going up into the inside of that turn number 11.
I'm seeing an interesting battle that might be turning up, although the gap is now widening.
Oh, there's Robert touching that inside curb on the inner loop. So it does look like Brandon and Duppy there in 3rd and 4th place. They might be closing up that battle.
Let's have a look.
And as I say that, that's Brandon, and looks like Duppy are side by side across the line. Who will give way going into turn number 1? So Brandon, he has the inside line, but Duppy still fights him.
Running wide.
That was Jake's on the inside of the course. So you can see Jake's has now dropped down to 4th place. So Brandon, he's put himself up into 2nd place. Duppy's 3rd, and Jake's down into 4th.
What's happened? What has happened? We will have to find our post-race, because this could turn out to be an interesting way to end the race. Now find ourselves up in front with Christopher having a big lead, more than 5.5 seconds from him in 2nd place, where Brandon finds himself with all the work to do this evening at Watkins Glen International Raceway with the Janetta G4s.
So I do want to just have a look down there to 5th and 6th place there, please. There's a nice little battle happening here. That is Marius. He's closing down here on Pete. Will Marius have a look to the inside into turn number 10?
Let's see if we can get ourselves onto the chase cam.
So Pete's gone wide there once again.
Not being capitalized. The opportunity not having been capitalized.
We are getting just a little bit of lag, and that's Marius going into the pits. There was just one more lap to go, so very interesting to see him going into the pits there.
Let's return to the battle for now, 6th and 7th.
So this is Marshall, and just ahead of Marshall, that is Memo. These two actually teammates in the last series. They did ride together as the Chasing Beavers, and you can see.
They look good together. Oh.
I'm sure they'll be very happy with seeing that picture. So let's just do them a favor and just give them a little snap as they come past us here on the back straight.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
So in through the inner loop they go. This is the little touch there. You wouldn't say that these two were teammates the way they're going at it, but that's what we want to see. We want to see close competitive racing. We don't want to see guys being bumped off and hit off.
And that is our race. The winner there, Christopher, up in first. Well done, Christopher. Jake's coming in second with a 4-second gap behind him. And in third is Duppy.
So Jake's managing to come back with a second. Remember, we had Brandon and Duppy. They were up in third and fourth. In second and third. So probably a mistake by the two of them. So Jake's very, very fortunate there, having made that mistake, but managing to claw back and actually take a fourth place. We have Pete down in fifth with Marshall.
Have a look at our best laps. Look at that. Less than half a second between first and second between Christopher and Jake's. They were quick. They were very quick. That was a hell of a lot quicker than our qualifying times as well.
So now as we just make sure we get the final positions, we can just recap here. So Stephen, he's in 7th. Marius, very surprising 8th for him. We saw him going into the pits right at the end there. Memo, he's now in 9th place. And Alex, he finishes off in 10th position.
Unfortunately, Brandon scoring himself a 1-second penalty during that race.
So that might be why he actually had fallen down the order there. So it probably wasn't a mistake, it was just due to those time penalties. Then we have Alvain, he finishes in 11th place. With Robert in 12th. Terry down in 13th place. That's interesting considering he had such a good race the previous one. I'm not sure whether he was involved with some of the action off the start there. Andrew finishes in the 6th place, and then we have Troy down in 15th. So we can just return to the lobby there.
And that was race 2 out of 5 done for this evening. We'll next find ourselves.
That is correct. I just want to change our settings quickly just to go into the chat just so we can have a quick talk to the guys.
Never say stable.
It's like the guy that drives the car with no downforce.
It's never a good ride when it's stable, but
Just remind you guys, you are officially Code Coconuts, and Christopher will let you get away with that one.
what did I do?
That is perfect racing terminology. So,
So guys, thank you very much for that. A little bit of an incident off the start. We weren't quite sure what had happened. It looked like there was a car that was actually stopped sideways on the grid.
What happened was, the first race, my one controller disconnected. So I switched to my other controller. Say that race, on the start, it just switched to reverse by itself and reversed like that.
So what you're saying that, Troy, the problem that we had was all because of you.
Yep. I'll take full responsibility of it.
That's the best on the controller, Troy.
Yeah, now I'm on my third controller. So let's see what the
I
next race
was right behind you on the first race when I check over reversing before the light goes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I wasn't understanding. Because the first race, the one controller disconnects, so I go to the next one. This race, it literally just went into reverse by itself on the start line, and I was just holding the controller, not touching any buttons, and it just moved back by itself.
Lucky you gave me 2 lights warning to go.
Okay guys, we're just sorting out the updated points here for you. Okay, so now we move on to the third race. So we now go on to Sugo Sportsland in our Scottish International's famous Ferrari 333 SP.
Now this is
So please make sure that you do select that Ferrari. So while you guys are selecting your colors, we can just bring up the current standings.
Yeah.
So currently leading this championship, we have Morris with 33 points, Christopher 30, Stephen is on 29 with Brandon 28, followed by Jake's 26th, Duppy, he's on 24, then we have Marshall 23, then we have a two-way tie between Pete and Terry, tied in 8th place. Alvain, he's in 13th, Andrew, you're on 12 with Robert 11th. 9th point, is Memo with Alex in 6. Troy, you have 5, and Bruno, we gave you 1 just for the sake of it.
Flat out.
Flat out.
I think this thing you might consider stable.
This is a proper car.
This is a monster of a thing.
Loose, 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 loose. All day, every day.
Loose is fast.
You want to talk about a proper car here? This is the Ferrari 333 SP, powered by a naturally aspirated Ferrari V12. That's a 4-litre V12, producing 641 horsepower. Originally built by Dallara and then by Michelotto, first built in 1993. A total of 40 chassis built during that period, and only 27 of them were raced during the 9-year period between 1994 and 2003.
And now that you guys know that, we're going to be starting and heading back to the party chat. Enjoy.
Thank you, man.
There's one of these cars.
So Stephen, just making sure that you're with me.
Hear you loud and clear, Dylan.
That is fantastic.
Number 3.
This is definitely one of the sexiest sounding cars of all the cars that the guys will be racing this evening. And one of my favorite tracks. I love this track.
Well, with a soundtrack provided by a naturally aspirated Ferrari V12, you've got to ask yourself, is there a better sounding race car? Now, of course, a lot of people would say there was. But the jury can be out on that one. I think this is a very, very good sounding car. And there's not much better than a naturally aspirated V12 made by Ferrari. And I mean, it's a formula that's worked for them for decades. And for Lamborghini, for that matter. So why change something that works?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's pose that question out to the guys watching the stream. Give us your favorite sounding car. Let's hear it from you.
Gentlemen, pulling out of the pit lane for qualifying in this. We've got just under 5 minutes worth of qualifying time. There we go, you can hear that naturally aspirated Ferrari V12 running midships in the Ferrari 333 SP.
So now that I'm just looking at this car and looking at what we have next, I might have got the orders slightly mixed up. We should have perhaps done the Corvette now and then done this afterwards, because I think this is a much more powerful car, much more of a beast to handle versus the GTE.
Well, I think it provides an interesting challenge and something that you wouldn't necessarily find over at SARCO Sportsman. Now, this could make for some knife edge racing. It could also make for some very, very scary racing.
Interesting fact is we actually raced these cars versus one of the UK clubs. We race against OTL on the limit racing, and man, oh man, did we have some interesting spills.
Well, I'll tell you what, looking at the layout of this course, there are some very, very nice corners to come through that, and some very technical corners. Looking at your first corner, coming down from what is an admittedly very, very long straight, it's almost a 90-degree bend over to the right, followed by another 90-degree to the second, and then followed by what appears to be about an 80-degree left into the third corner. So that followed by a nice little straight into a fourth corner, where you'll find yourself with a more than 90-degree left-hand turn. A little kink into it for the S-curve, going to turn number 5. Turn number 6, finding yourself on what's called the high point corner, followed by the rainbow corner, and then a very, very long back straight with a slight kink down to horseback. That's a right-hand corner, almost a hairpin, and you'll find yourself heading uphill there into the following turns, 2 relatively light left-handers, and then into the big sweeping 110R.
And man, oh man, if you get your entry wrong there, I promise you, it kills you all the way up the hill. And interestingly enough is that in some of the racing that they do have on this track is that they do have a little chicane down at that 110. And there's those little ballards that are on the right hand side. You can see them now as Alex goes past. If you touch one of those, it literally destroys your car.
Well, it's a fascinating track located in the Miyagi Prefecture in Japan. It was opened in 1975, and it is in fact one of the largest motorsport facilities in that country. Alongside Suzuka, it is one of the fastest tracks and has a very, very long straight with a 704 meter straight heading down past the pit lane. And not a very high elevation change, 70 meters per lap, just under 70 meters at 69.03. And of course the track can be configured 4 different ways. A road racing course, a motocross course, a trials course, and of course a go-kart course. Because as we know, no racetrack is complete without a go-kart course.
Sign me up, I'll definitely hit that go-kart track. But I'll tell you what, if somebody said to me, we'll give you a Ferrari 333 to have a little go, I promise you I'm putting my hand up. What I'm liking to see, oh, there goes Christopher. I was just about to say the times up front are extremely close, and then we go, if Christopher goes and smashes Marius's time by a second. Stephen then goes and goes fast as well, so 113.11 is the new benchmark. Stephen 0.3 off that, but now Marshall, Marius and Memo, they're unfortunately 4 seconds away. So that's Temp, that's Alex. He's now up into a 4th position. But we haven't seen Jakes put up a time yet. I'm not sure whether he had some issues.
Well, let's find out. Oh, there it is. There it is. Jumped straight up to 4th place.
And Memo going faster than Jakes. That's a very, very good lap time for him. I'm sure he'll be stoked with that. Overshooting trying to get another lap in. So good effort for Memo. So you'll see him jumping into the pits. Well, Christopher getting side by side, a little bump there.
Oh, wow.
Not sure who that
was.
was.
That's a big off from Christopher. Perhaps a little bit too enthusiastic going into that corner. Let's hope that's not something that's repeated in the main race. Qualifying now completes. All these guys have to do is come in, bring us their fastest times.
So far, the positions that cannot be changed, well, I say that, but Dupi can definitely sneak himself a little bit further up there. We're still looking for Brandon to get in a good time, as well as Alex. He could possibly go faster. Marshall, he's up there, but then we've got the likes of Terry down in 15th place. He seems to be struggling. That does not look like he's been able to get in a lap just yet.
I think Tabasco. Troy must still be struggling with some Tabasco on his
or he just hasn't got the heat now. We can do this all day.
Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Corny jokes. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by the one and only Dylan Hall, and he is here all week.
I actually will be here, but I'll be back on Thursday. So 18 seconds left as the guys finish off their final laps. So that's Alex. He's currently on a slowdown, but it's still saying that he is racing. There's Duppy. He is coming around the 100R, but he won't get that last lap done. So unfortunately, that is it. So Christopher, he puts himself atop once again. Stephen, he's in second place with Morris in third, and a very, very surprising memo. Great effort there by him. Up into fourth place. Alex, he's in fifth. Duppy in sixth. And then we have Andrew in seventh, Marshall in eighth, and Jake's all the way down in ninth position with Brandon in 10th. So
look at your fourth, fifth, and sixth places there. It's, in fact, and your seventh. There's not much between all four of those guys. Less than a second between all four of them. And looking at Jake's down in ninth position, eighth position, I beg it. No, ninth position. That's quite right. He is less than 200ths of a second off the back.
Looking forward to this. Let's get it going.
Here we are, race number 3. Our 5x5 special this evening, SARCO Racing. We find ourselves at eSPORTs. Let's get those lights going.
So that was what we were waiting for. There's the syncing notification. A great start. There were a little bumping in the background there, and unfortunately that's what happens once the guys get that power on and you don't have control of that slide. Morris, he is away, and remember the guys that we literally threw these guys in there, they haven't had much time to practice, so it's literally a blind entry into this race. So we do expect some of this to happen, but this is all for the fun. The guys don't have any hard feelings, specifically in the 5x5 racing. But Morris is away with Christopher in second. Stephen is in third with Memo in fourth place. But he has Troy very much chasing him with Brandon. Brandon from 8th place, he's up into 6th. A great start for him, being able to get out of some of the commotion happening off the start. So guys, on the stream, let us know who you think is going to win this. I definitely think that between Marius and Christopher, any one of these two could win it. Jake's unfortunately dropping further down the order. He's down in 12th place, so it's going to be very difficult for him to claw his way back up. Brandon's up to 5th, so he's moving further and further up the order here. That's very good to see. Jake's chasing Terry. Jake's not quite getting his entry into the 110R quite right. That's it. Jake's going into the pits. Obviously too much damage to continue.
I wonder if that damage may be caused by that little start up or start bust up that we saw.
I can only imagine. But interestingly enough is Christopher's actually dropped down to 3rd. Stevens moved himself up into 2nd. But they are 0.2 away from each other. That's side by side now, coming down the back straight. Who's going to back out going into horseback corner? Christopher, he goes, he gets him on the braking. Stephen now down to 3rd, so great racing between those two. And the other thing I'm seeing is that Memo, he's unfortunately dropping down the order. So he was in 4th place. He's now found himself down in 9th position, so very unfortunate for him there.
Let's move over there and see what the action is down with 9th and 10th place between Memo and Alvin.
Just behind him, that is Alvin. Great camera shot. You can see how close they go, and actually the speed differential they're going through that corner. And Horndog, he's starting to close down on Troy as they go into turn number 1. So that is known as the first corner. Well, side by side for Troy and the Horndog. Oh, a little tag from Alvain on the back of Memo. Don't think that was intentional. I think Memo was just trying to give himself a little bit of braking space between himself and Horndog, and a little tag on the back there. But now Andrew's going to have Memo right behind him, with Alvain starting to close up as well.
Let's move back up to the front of the order, where we find ourselves up in position number 1 with Marius leading and a 2.8 second, 2.9. Its gap is growing. And it decreases again. It shows you just how powerful these guys are. It can be a matter of a few seconds where the gap between these drivers will open and close.
And generally what you want to be seeing is just watching the timing on the right hand side, because what happens is as you go into a slower corner, the cars get closer and closer together, but as soon as you start accelerating, that gap opens up. So it is always changing, it's always moving. And it was something that I had to figure out for myself in my racing, is that it's a bit of chaos.
Let's go down to 7th and 8th place battle right now between Troy and Andrew.
And just behind, oh, there goes Troy.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, he's losing the rear, going through the 4th corner, through that little hairpin. There was too much power there. Don't do it again. Could see it happening.
Too much power, sure. Come off the power a little bit, back onto the track, clear the traffic, and off he goes. He's got a lot of work now to do to get himself back up. 8th place, stopped on.
And now Duppy, you can see in the background. Oh, Troy, those tires are dirty, hitting that outside curb. Watch out, Troy. We've got some cars coming around. That was Alvain that went past there.
Dropping right now, second to last for Tabasco Troy. I think the Tabasco got stuck in the power pedal on this controller between you and me. Back up to first, where we find Marius.
Let's just have a look between 2nd and 3rd, because there I can see those positions are changing constantly. So that was Stephen going past Christopher, and Brandon, he's still in the picture. Oh, Christopher getting it very sideways coming through the chicane. But Stephen, he's in 2nd place, fighting off, and he goes and he loses it. Coming out of Rainbow Corner. I don't know why they call it Rainbow Corner, because that was an absolute nightmare there for him. Which means Brandon moves himself up into 3rd place. A great result there for Brandon. All he needs to do is just keep it together.
But that gap now between 1st and 2nd, wide as anything, and there's the result. Marius got the line in 1st.
So Marius takes that win. Christopher, he comes home in 2nd place. Brandon, a convincing 3rd from there. He moving himself up from 8th position, just keeping it clean and getting himself a great result there. Marshall, he finishes in 5th place with Sly Pete. I'm sure he'll be happy with that 6th.
Coming up the hill.
That's
very close to
with Andrew right behind him, and not enough pace up the hill. But a great race to the line there.
Let's see, we've got an interesting battle coming up between 13th and 14th place. Not much between these guys, but I don't think that gap will be closed enough by the time we reach the long straight up the hill for the finish. We'll be trying everything we can to get up there and over the line.
So just picking up those positions. Memo down in 9th place. Jake's a disappointing 10th place for him there. And then Alvain, he was in 11th. We'll just get those final results to come up.
If you're just joining us now, we are at the end of the 3rd race in our 5x5 on this Monday evening, 1st of June 2020, with this round brought to you by BX Gaming NASCOM for some stellar racing that's happening here tonight as a warm-up for our upcoming races, with the league starting on Thursday night. Formula V8 cars coming through there. Very, very quick this time on. Let's return to the lobby and we can get some feedback from our guys on the track.
Got the better of me.
Terry, do you remember when they came here in '98?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, that was a noise, eh?
I raced in that race.
Did you?
Yep, came 12th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, guys. Once again, very
Mm-hmm.
interesting scenarios happening there. Guys losing it just at the most opportune moments. And a little bit of wheel spin off the line there, I suspect. I'm not too sure who that was.
I suspect coconut was being thrown around there, those words, quite viciously by a number of drivers during this race. Gentlemen, did you have trouble with this very, very powerful, very, very light car on this very technical track?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I found it very nice to drive. First time driving.
It is a monster, that's for sure.
Nice.
Beautiful car
I
to drive.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it is a fast car.
So if next time we have something like a 5x5, maybe we can put this car onto a track like Suzuka. Our other formidable
That would be beautiful. That nice flowing track in this thing would be nice.
Or Spa.
Yeah.
Alright, gentlemen, we are now going to round number 4. We now head to Red Bull Ring. And I do apologize, it's just watching that car. I think we might have got the cars a little bit mixed up, that we should have possibly done the Corvette before the Ferrari.
Yes.
Nevertheless, now at least you're going to get some downforce.
The beautiful, beautiful, beautiful car. This is one of my all-time favorites when I'm watching them all. The Chevrolet Corvette C7R. A naturally aspirated 90-degree LT 5.5 V8, 5.5 liter, 336 cubic inch V8, and it makes one heck of a good noise. The V12 sounded nice. All you need to do is spend Father's Day weekend, typically Father's Day weekend, watching Le Mans and having these cars coming down the Mulholland Straight, and you can hear nothing but Donald Trump on the back of a bear screaming, America the Great.
Love it, love it, love it, love it.
That is what this car sounds like, and you can only compare it to the Astons, the GDR9s, that were famously in competition with the C7R. Of course, this Corvette developing 491 horsepower, a maximum curb weight of 1,245 kilos. That's including your driver, your fluid, and everything. It was first seen in 2014. So 65 races to date. Particular class of car with 16 wins during those 65. It was, of course, the winner of the GTE Pro Class at the 2015 24 Hours of Le Mans. And during its career, it has won 2 Constructors' Championships as well as 3 Drivers' Championships in the Le Mans series.
Fantastic. Let's take a look at the current positions. So we have Morris up on the top, 8 points clear of Christopher in second. We then have Brandon. He's in 3rd place. Great result there for Brandon, 43, but he has Stephen 1 point behind him in 4th. Marshall, you have 34 points, with Jake's down in 6th, 32. Duppy, you're in 7th place with 27. Then Pete, 24 in 8th. Andrew, you got 21. So the midfield extremely close there. Alvain, you're in 10th place with 18. Memo, 16 points in 11th. Terry down in 12th with 15. Alex, 14 points in 13th. Robert, you're unfortunately with 13 points in 14th. And Troy down in 15th place in 9th. And Bruno, you still have your 1 point, which we gave to you just for trying. Let's go racing.
Wait.
Pete has to change his car. He's got an Aston.
Pete.
Pete, change your car. Otherwise, we'll vote to kick.
I think Pete's done a run quickly.
What car must I run?
Corvette, please. It starts with a K. Curly K.
It's Cristiano Ronaldo's car.
Oh, you're right.
This was my car in the GT3 class.
Yes, I remember it well. Marshall, I got stuck behind you on too many occasions I'd like to remember, thank you.
I'm okay with this livery. 60.
Love it. Let's go.
Good stuff.
Enjoy, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck, boys.
While waiting for the...
So while we are getting our race up, guys, we'd just like to say a big thank you to our sponsors for the upcoming season. That is VX Gaming. You're able to just check out their details on the website. Once the video is up, I will be able to stick all the details in the link below. NASCOM, the proud sponsors of our new SARCO-racing.co.za website, and Deliver Your Parcel, a local business here in South Africa that can deliver any parcel anywhere here in South Africa. So just check the details. We will have all those up. For any of our social links, you can check out our Facebook page. That is SARCO, the South African Racing Community Online. Go check out our YouTube channel if you're watching us through Facebook, and that is just SARCO eSports. And that is that.
And so we find ourselves at the Red Bull Ring, an Austrian racetrack. And Red Bull Ring, well, first came around in 2011. It subsequently hosted a round of the 2011 GTM season, as well as the 2011 F2 Championship. Formula One then found its way to the Red Bull Ring in 2014. Interesting, a lap record for Formula One on the Red Bull Ring with a time of just over a minute, 1 minute and 3 seconds, is held by Charles Leclerc in a Ferrari SF19. That happened at last year's 2019 Austrian Grand Prix.
Where unfortunately Max Verstappen drove the actual wheels off his Red Bull and landed up winning there. I was so disappointed for Charles.
It was. He really could have done some amazing things if he had seen his way all the way through. The fastest lap record at that track is nothing to be ashamed of. If you're looking at during a race, however, it was Kimi Raikkonen back in 2018 Austrian Grand Prix in his Ferrari, scoring a lap time there just under 1 minute and 7 seconds.
Yeah, we've seen the guys battling with this car, obviously just trying to get those tires warm, and see Christopher really committing as he was coming through turn number 6 and getting that car a little bit sideways. And as basic as this track may seem, it is quite tricky, is that your turn number 4 dictates what happens with you going through 5 in through 6 and then sets you up for 7. But that turn number 7, if you get that wrong, it can get you offline for turn number 8, and that just destroys your lap time completely.
Absolutely. It's actually quite interesting. If you look at the climb that goes up from your turn number 1 all the way to turn number 2, that is quite the hill going up there, up to what's called the Remus curve, coming out of the Niki Lauda curve on the pit straight.
And the one thing that the guys must just be careful of, you see on the inside there's a big yellow sausage curb there. If you hit that, that car gets so unstable and you're not able to get that traction down.
Oh, these are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cars. You can just hear the noise that they're making, and you can only imagine what it must be like to drive one of these at Le Mans versus your Astons.
So to the guys from the Corvette GTE team, is that this is a car that I drove with Jakes in that exact color in the GTE series that we had at the beginning of the year. If you need a driver, let me know and I'll definitely come and drive it for you in real life. And I'll tell you how close it is to the game.
Speaking of Jakes, let's cut over to him. There it is. Having now into final turn onto the pit straight.
And I see Christopher and Jakes have got their mirrors correct. Jakes is in the yellow and Christopher in the red. And just some interesting information is that for this upcoming season, there's going to be a driver change. With me not driving, I have stepped out of the Black Mamba team, but have made way for Christopher. So Jakes and Christopher will be teaming up together for this next upcoming season.
In fact, looking at those two names, if I have a look at my own schedule here, we'll find Christopher coming up with fastest time so far at 1 minute 32, and Jakes in third place at 1 minute 33.9. Second place you'll find Brandon 1 minute 33 as well, with just 300 of a split in the second with Jakes behind him.
So that going down into turn number 3, you can see it braking on a downhill. The braking point there is just past 150 meters. If you get to the 100 meters, you are going too fast and you will run off. And there's quite a nice big open curb on the inside there that I generally like to get the car on there, but not accelerate until the car's gone off. Otherwise, it generally just throws you on the inside wall.
Luckily, at this track, what I've noticed is that there's plenty of kitty litter. So if you do find yourself making a mistake going into turn number 2, for example, coming out of turn number 5, even though that's a deceptively wider turn, you have enough space to run off, you have enough space to get yourself back onto the track and rejoin the action.
And Jake, sorry to interrupt you, Jakes has just gone faster and Brandon's just gone faster. So Christopher, he was the initial pole sitter. He's dropped down to third, and as I say that, there he goes, second fastest. So these guys are going to be able to get just one more lap in. So Jake's now setting the new benchmark. Christopher in second, Brandon's in third. Marshall, he's in fourth place. He's just been overtaken now by Stephen, and as I mentioned, myself being stuck behind Marshall in the championship, definitely did struggle there. Morris, he's in 7th place, so we're still waiting for him to put in a good time. Alex, he's in 8th. He was at that just jump up.
Nemo yet to put in time, and there he is, he's coming. Oh no!
So Membo has not been able to get a time, and not sure whether he invalidated it. So that turn number 7 and turn number 8, if you get that wrong, you will invalidate your lap time. You won't be able to get a lap time in, and what it generally does is invalidates your next lap too. So that means you have to circulate an entire lap and not make that same mistake. Otherwise, that's yet another lap that you would need to go and sort out.
Well, here is our man on pole. Jakes, having put in a stellar time, 1 minute 31 seconds on there, with Christopher behind him, just 200ths of a second.
So just some notifications that are coming through on our YouTube channel here, Stephen, is that we've got a new subscriber, Amy Strew. How's it? Thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. Really, really appreciate it. And to Rockstar Alfredo, now that's a pretty awesome name. Thank you so much for your subscription. We're looking forward to seeing you later on in our upcoming streams.
Welcome, and welcome to SARCO Racing, streaming live on YouTube this evening for our 5x5 racing special as a precursor to our upcoming seasons.
And that is the current position. So Jakes is first with Brandon in third place, managing to out-qualify Christopher. That's going to be very interesting to see. Then Marshall, he's in fourth with Stephen fifth. Troy in 6th place. Great result for him. Surprisingly, Morris is down in 7th place. Remember, he's currently leading this mini championship with Alex in 8th and Robert in 9th place and Andrew in 10th position. And let's go racing.
Here we are on the start line at the Red Bull Ring, Spielberg, Austria.
So we are just waiting for the 2-minute warning to come up. The guys will sync. And it was actually quite interesting because I said to my son that, do you want to watch? And he's like, no, it's fine. I said, what if I say something special? And the thing he wanted me to say was from Race Fail. He generally starts his streams with, hello and welcome to the show. But I said, Chase, that's his thing. And they are starting. That's a great start for Christopher. He's managed to get himself ahead of Brandon. Now they're going to go into turn 1. That is a 3-way horse, 3 wide, going into turn number 1. Brandon just pulls out of that, allowing Christopher to go through. So Christopher, a phenomenal start, starting in 3rd place. He's moved himself up all the way up into 1st. Now they head up to turn number 2.
Braking hard coming into turn 2.
Well, a little look to the inside, but Jake's just allowing Christopher to go. Christopher's wide. Jake's is not going to let him get away with that. So, but Christopher will now just squeeze him just a little bit. Let's just see what happens as they go into turn number 3. Christopher goes very defensive. Christopher's a little bit wide. Jake's has now got the inside. I don't think that was a bump. I think it was just Christopher on the outside curb. And that unfortunately lost his momentum. But there's definitely something has happened. There's Morris up into 3rd place. So he's moved up from 8th. So there's definitely been some issues. Because as I'm seeing Brandon, he's dropping down. I didn't quite see who was in 4th.
Well, there's the reason. There's the reason he's finding himself off of the hard stuff. There's potential for so many track battles to happen on this circuit between these stellar cars.
Whoa!
Oh, action!
Little loss of the rear. I'm not sure whether that was a bump. But it is extremely congested down here. Looks like Grayson Drive on a Friday evening.
Richest square mile of Africa, also the most congested.
Yep, and I'm so glad I don't have to take that traffic in the morning, but that's very close. A little touching on the outside there.
Oh,
that's Andrew and Brandon having some rubbing is racing there. But I will come into turn number 2. Who will... Oh, big lock up there. I'm not too sure. That was a few places down. That might have been Troy. But it is absolute chaos. Cars all over the place. Lots and lots of close racing, but not too many big bumps, which is really good to see. Little look to the inside. Lock up of the rear. That's probably part of the engine braking that's catching some of these drivers out. But it's actually Troy on the outside. Alex is going to have a little look to the inside.
Contact. What is going on back here?
Oh, that's unfortunately Troy that's off. He's battling to get this car back onto the track. But I think let's just jump back to the front of the pack to see what's happening between our race leaders. Oh, less than a second away there. If we can just hit that trackside view, please. Let's see what's happening around.
Coming up, pit straight. Hard and fast.
So beginning lap number 3, Christopher, he leads with Jakes in 2nd, Morris is 3rd, Stephen in 4th, Brandon moving himself back up the field. He's now into 5th. Andrew, he's in 6th with that's 10th, that's Alex in 7th place, Marshall, then Duppy, Alvain, Troy. That is Roberts, Terry, Pete, then Memo.
Let's get a sense of how close these cars are together. We'll switch to the bonnet cam on Jake's car. It looks like a big gap, but that can be closed very, very quickly. One small mistake heading into turn number 3 there, and we could have a new 2nd place. A new 1st place, I beg your pardon.
And you're so right. Anything can happen. A little bit of the touch of the grass upset the braking, and then all of a sudden Jakes is right on the back of Christopher once again.
Let's move down to have a look at what's happening in 7th and 8th place right now. There is a little battle emerging here between 6th, 7th and 8th. Marshall trying all he can up the hill, try and catch 7th place, snatch it.
Well, a little bit of lag there. You see it's that rear. Marshall just not getting to grips with the rear. I think that engine braking is catching him as he geared down. You can see the rear just let go ever so slightly, and unfortunately not being able to control that slide. is probably need to just brake a little bit earlier, get the car down that gear, then once it's down, turn in, but just keep a little bit of that throttle on to keep that traction, and that will definitely get him through there a little bit more safer.
Having a look at what's emerging here in 9th, 10th and 11th place. It's Duppy feeling the pressure for what's coming up behind. And what is behind? Well,
that is Alvain making a move to the inside, but will Alvain have a go? Yes, he does. You can see that rear just rotating. That's Duppy away. Unfortunately, another place has gone by. There's Troy that now goes by, and now Robert. So Alvain down into 12th place.
Having broken up that battle, we'll see between Beach down in place number 14. This is what I like about these cars. This is what I like about this track, that it really can become very involved, and you can get lots of little battles coming out between these world-class drivers here on SARCO's official racing channel, streaming live on YouTube this evening.
So I do need to just apologize to everyone. For some reason the chat was not working. The last message I saw was from Bruno where he said clean racing. That was after race number 1, and then all of a sudden all these messages just came by, and unfortunately not going to be able to catch up all those messages. But Bruno, Clayton, Ross, Agamemnon, thank you very much guys for all your messages. It looks like it is now scrolling, so as a message comes up we will be able to see that. So thank you very much guys for keeping those messages going. Unfortunately not seeing them, but we'll definitely watch out for that last race.
We find ourselves now with the leader of the pack. He's got a 2-second gap at the very least between him and Jake's in second. Let's hit our trackside cam and see what that gap is looking like. Where is second place? Not even in view. Switching over to Jake's, and that is perhaps a bit too much of a gap to work through, or they come back down into pit straight, not that far away.
Yeah, with only 2 more corners, that's gonna call the end of it. So a great result there for Christopher, starting in 3rd, getting the jump off the start, taking that first, going into first into the first corner, and just leading from the start there. Absolutely fantastic. A great recovery there for Morris. He was down in 8th place and managing to work himself through the field. Stephen, he now comes home in 4th place, with Andrew a very good 5th place for him there. Marshall will recover in 6th place. Alex, that is a 7th place for him. We then have a Duppy in 8th. He defended very well there. One of the comments that we saw there coming from Bruno. Yes, indeed, he did. Then we have Troy in 9th position. So I think the guys really just battling to get to grips with that engine braking on this car.
That was some very close racing. In the middle of the pack especially, it just shows you that a lot of these guys will have issues with these cars. Let's head back to the lobby and find out what they've got to say.
I'm just gonna get some of the final results in here. I've got down to 10th place. Let's just get Robert his 10th. Alvain, he got his 11th. Terry, that is a 12th place for him. Brandon, he'll finish in 13. Disappointing there for Brandon. He was way up at the top there. Sly Pete will come home in 14th place. And then ending off will be Memo down in 15th position.
That is race number 4 of 5 here on the...
Is it now that Ligier?
Ligier, yeah.
Alright.
That's a nice car.
I think, is it the 4-cylinder?
No, they've got V6s in.
We are in the Nissan, and the Nissan is a V8.
Beautiful.
Oh, V8. There you have it.
Brilliant car to drive that.
Absolutely.
The Nissan, you say?
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Have I missed the plot here? I think I have. Just gonna sort by LMP2. There we go. So while you guys are sorting out your points, let me just quickly run the current positions here.
Ligier.
Jakes?
Yes.
Which one?
You gotta take the one with the red tailpiece point.
Okay.
It's the same car that I drove in that thing we had. My colours.
You should take the Nissan, eh?
Yes.
Yep.
The JSP2.
JSP2 Nissan.
So Morris, I just want to commend you on your third place, starting way down in 8th place, making your way through it.
Are we driving the Nissan?
Yeah.
Jakes?
Thanks, Ben. Again, and lots of luck played its role there.
Most definitely. And Andrew, a 5th place for you. Fantastic result. Really good to see. And then unfortunately, Brandon, a little bit of unfortunate luck there. We did catch you, Alvain, a couple of times just going into the brakes and that rear locking up. I'm guessing that the engine braking was catching you out there.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the best for me, unlike that car.
What's making that noise?
So, a word about the Ligier. Naturally aspirated V8, as you heard, coming from Nissan, making 465 horsepower, sending all of that power to the rear wheels on a 900 kilogram frame. Then LMP2, there we go, prototype, let's get it right. Carbon fiber monocoque was first introduced back in 2014 at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and it has won 2 teams championships. First of all at the 2015 FIA World Endurance Championship, and secondly at the 2016-2017 Asian Le Mans Series. It was repeated in the Drivers' Championship, winning also at the 2015 FIA World Endurance Championship and 2016-17 Asian Le Mans Series. An extraordinary car this, having been designed by Owen Rook Automotive and named after the former French racing driver Guy Ligier.
Thank you very much for that. Let's get the current positions.
Change the track.
Will do. Thank you very much. And now all of a sudden it is not allowing me to change this Y. Let me just take that off. Apologies, guys. I'm not able to get that up for you. And we seem to have lost another skin, so let's just get that back in.
Christopher, do you have the Judd or the Honda?
I've got the Nissan.
Oh, you've got the Nissan.
I hope none of them.
No, but
We will
why?
have to take the Nissan.
It's a Nissan.
You must
Gotta take the Nissan.
Yeah, Nissan.
You can with the Nissan.
Jakes, I don't have the green one. I don't know why.
My race for number.
The DLC pack or something that I don't have, or something to that effect.
Okay guys, unfortunately we can't get those positions up for you, but let's just run you through them quickly. Christopher, he now takes the lead with 73. Morris is in the second place with, sorry, Christopher, you got 75 with Morris 73. Stephen, you're in third place with 55. Jakes is right behind you, 3 points behind on the 52. Brandon, he's in fifth with 46. Marshall, 44. Then we have Duppy, 35. Andrew in 32. 26 points goes to Pete in 9th. Alex, you got 23, tied with Alvain on 23. Then Robert and Terry, both of you tied on 19 points with Memo 17 and 14th and Troy 15. with that, let's go to the last race.
You need to change the track.
Ah!
Track,
Okay, I
track,
cancelled
track.
it, I cancelled it, I cancelled it, I cancelled it. Sure. Thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Flat out.
I am
What are
happy
we
to
here
race
for?
at the Red Bull Ring again.
Nope.
Well, who would mind racing an LMP2 car like this on the Red Bull Ring, especially having seen what it's capable of in the Le Mans series?
Okay, so while that is loading up, let's see if we can't get this to come back. For some reason that is not working. There it is there, but why are you not showing? That is extremely strange.
Joe, have you loud and clear?
Yes, you do. So for
And
some
here we
reason
are.
we have lost our skin at the bottom. So let's just see if I'm able to add it in once again.
In the meantime, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Texas Motor Speedway and the fact that it is no longer with us. It is one of the unfortunate events of the world of development, and specifically housing development. Back in 2018, July, more specifically, developers broke ground to begin development of a housing community called Southern Point, and it was going to take over the entire racetrack facility. Some 1,400 homes are going to be developed on the plot, and unfortunately that development is continuing to date, with back in February of this year noticing a significant moment when the press box above the grandstand was demolished. Of course, that is where commentators like Dylan and myself would have positioned themselves to watch some of the fastest racing in American history around the oval or around the road course.
That is very, very sad to hear. But at least we're able to relive those moments and bring the racing back to this track. This is a very tricky track with the little road course in the middle. We did have a Formula C event here back in 2018, and myself and what was his? I was just trying to think of his PSN, but his surname was Alvain. And we basically touched going out of turn number 3 and landed up flipping the car.
Oh, well done. That must be fantastic to see. Do you have any video footage?
Unfortunately, there is footage up on our YouTube channel. You can definitely go back and have a look. And I see that we have Savvy from the South African Academy of Online Racing. He's just joined us to say, how's it? It does seem like Savvy's got a little bit of flu. Sorry to hear that, Savvy. But so glad that you're able to join us. So the South African Academy of Online Racing is one of our affiliated clubs here with SARCO. They do have the Formula 1 Codemaster Series that they race there. So if you are looking for a F1 league and you have a PlayStation, go check out the South African Academy of Online Racing and you can go and join them there.
If you're just joining us here, we are watching qualifying for the fifth and final race of this evening. We find ourselves at the Texas Motor Speedway road course in the LMP2 Ligier. Guys coming around now shedding flying laps to decide their positions for the final race of this evening. You can just picture this track. In fact, it is ancient history now, but you can almost hear the NASCARs that would have tunneled their way around this track when it was still around. In fact, one of the most famous oval tracks in the US. Cars now setting their first flying laps.
Brandon's currently fastest with a 111.1, Jake's a 111.5, then Troy 111.6, 111.8, 111.8. They've got exactly the same time, Christopher and Morris. Can you believe that?
It just means that the next laps are going to have to be quicker than each other to see who lands up ahead on the grid.
Oh, that was Morris going through ahead of Alex into turn number 4. But it was at that point where myself in that Formula C to put it on its roof. Louis, sorry Louis, I can't believe I actually forgotten your name. But Louis was actually one of the South African GT Academy drivers. He was part of that top 10. I think he finished 6th in that competition. And yeah, Louis actually had teamed up with Gerard back when we were racing in Project Cars 1. And he did a couple of races with us, and before he relocated to New Zealand. And I know that Louis does every now and again pop his head in on the Discord to come and say how's it. So Louis, if you are watching, sorry I forgot your name, but yes, I will always remember this track and always have that reminder of you. So you can see Brandon going even quicker, a 1:10.1, Jake's 0.6 off that time. Then Christopher 0.001. Oh, little
Good
spin
timing
there. I
for-
think
Good time
that,
from our cameraman there.
yeah, that was, looks like that was Jake's had lost it there. I did get myself a little bit seasick there going over like that.
Struggling to start the car now by the looks of it. Get it back going. Have we sustained too much damage here?
I think,
yeah.
That's it. So he's
in the
put
pit,
himself
yeah.
back into the pit. So he will be starting off so far in 3rd place. So he can start dropping down. It all depends on what happens further down. So Morris puts himself 6th, so he won't be going any quicker.
Who did Christopher collide into though? That is the question.
Still not sure. It might have very well been Morris. I did see a black car when Morris was overtaking Alex. Not too sure who else has the black car. But looking at these times, it's going to be very, very close. And that first inside hairpin of the road course is going to be extremely tricky. These cars will be starting off on a rolling start, so they will have a bit of speed. And you can see that's Pete now coming out of turn number, well, we say turn number 4, but that is essentially turn 4 plus another 4 because of the inside section. So he's actually coming through turn number 8.
Dylan, let me ask you a question. On a NASCAR circuit, is there more than one turn?
Yes, there is. And that's because no corner is the same. Ask Ricky Bobby.
I hear you. I hear you. It's NASCAR, great American pastime, just as much as baseball, football, and of course basketball. Let's go racing. And we find ourselves now on the grid. Up in first is Brandon. 2nd place, Jake's. 3rd place, Chris. It's all to play for here.
So now that we see that it was actually Brandon in the black livery, was that who hit Christopher? But if I look further down, I can see there's 2 completely black liveries. So
right at the back.
It is either that is Marshall or Alex.
And they're off.
Oh, little stall there at the back.
Clean start though. Clean start.
But great start there for Jakes and Christopher. Well, that's Jake's going up a little bit higher. That's going to allow Steven to move on to the inside. So now this is turn number 2. They're going to be braking hard here into turn number 3. Big lock up there for Brandon. But now he manages to get that power down and opening up a little gap away from himself. But now why do we not have the split times are not showing? So there's drivers falling down the order. Well, there goes Terry. Oh no, that is actually the Horn Dog. My apologies. Terry is still up there. Terry up into 4th position. And just behind Terry we have Troy. But now we're going to go back onto the oval section. So on board with Jakes, these cars will be able to get a slipstream advantage through the oval sector here. So coming out of the turn number 3 of the oval sector, and from here, that is the end of turn number 4. These cars will be topping out in speed. And you want to be just dropping down closer to the white line, but don't want to touch it. Then up against the wall on the brakes. Jake's going to the inside of Christopher, but Christopher just shutting that door. Jake's too much curb there, so that's impacted on his exit speed. But Christopher really making it extremely difficult for Brandon to get away. Christopher moves to the inside into turn number 3. Looks like Brandon had gone a little bit too wide there and just opened up that door for Christopher.
Oh, these cars do look good coming down here.
Whoa, big lock up there for Christopher before coming onto the oval section again. And a little comment there for Bruno, say he went off a great drive there for Terry. Very impressive, but unfortunately he did go off, but he was looking really good at that point. So yes, Bruno, we definitely do agree with you. So here's Brandon trying to come back again on Christopher. Will he take the high road here into the hairpin? But you can see the slipstream that Jakes has got. Will he go into the inside? So this is going to be 3 wide here into turn number 3. Jakes goes to the inside. Not enough room. 2 wide going out of turn number 3. Christopher is away. Brandon now moves to the inside. So Christopher is wide, but he will have the inside line now coming through the little chicane portion. Brandon tucks in behind him. Now Jakes has got the run on him. Will he go around the outside here? Turn number 5. Christopher's deep. Brandon now moves up to first position. Jakes will be side by side. Not close enough there. I thought he was closer. Little lock up there for Brandon. Getting that car rotated down into second gear. Back onto the power. They'll be flat out. But now Brandon will know that both Jakes and Christopher will have the slipstream advantage down this oval section.
Let's see if Jake can pull off another magnificent slipstream move. They were going to dab a brakes on his previous attempt, no doubt to slow himself down, even though he was really sticking to the bumps of those cars in front.
So Christopher goes wide. Jake's on the tighter inside line. Oh, little lock up there.
Bit of a squiggle coming in.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Lost him some valuable time.
Whoa, Brandon is wide again. Will Christopher move to the inside? Yes, he does. But now Brandon holds that inside line for the chicane. For the chicane. For the S's, not the chicane. Well, S's chicane. I suppose it is a chicane.
Same thing at the end.
Oh, very close there for Christopher. Brandon very early on those brakes, not being able to get that car away. But Christopher saw him. He'll go around the outside. Let's just get that trackside view. I want to see all 3 of these cars that will come flying past us. Look at that. Extremely close. Less than half a second between these 3. Christopher moving to the outside. And for everybody who's heard that saying, we have a 3-way horse, this is what is a 3-way horse.
Look at that. What fantastic.
Oh, what was that? Was that a touch, or was that looked like a little bit of lag? But they're safe. Brandon inside. Jakes tries to squeeze in the inside of Christopher. They're managing to not hit each other. Jakes is now ahead. Little touch between Jakes and Christopher. Christopher just reminding Jakes, even though they're teammates, he's right behind him. Oh, Jakes gets unfortunately taken out there by Christopher. And Troy right behind.
That 3-horse race just became a 2-horse race, and has Brandon got the edge? We're coming now into the last turn, the second last turn, I beg your pardon. I think Brandon has got this one in the bag.
That has been a phenomenal drive there by Brandon. And will Jakes be able to just hang on to that, because he's going to have Troy right behind him.
His car will sustain some damage from that.
Yep, so he's definitely going to be fighting some downfalls, but I think Jakes will be far enough.
Was close.
So he will come past, but a great result there for Troy. He will finish in 4th place. Oh, some tail to nose action there. Pete,
Steven and Duffy.
a great 5th place there for him. So some very, very interesting results coming out of this race. Duppy, he finishes in 6th place with Marius in 8th. I'm sure he would have wanted to be up at the front there. The Horn Dog, so that is Andrew. He finishes in 9th place with Alex in 10th position. Memo in 13th, 11th. I'm looking at 11. I don't know why I said 13th. Robert, that was a 12th for Robert. So a disappointing 13th for Terry there. He was really doing well. Alvain, he comes home in 14th place, and Marshall down in 15th position. So absolutely fantastic driving in this last race. That is exactly what we have been waiting to see. Close racing action like that. Absolutely fantastic.
Jackson managing to hold on to 3rd place impressively despite that magnificent off in the last lap. Coming in only 7 seconds behind 2nd place. Although he was feeling the pressure coming from Troy, sneaking up behind. And that concludes the 5th and final race for this evening's action. Live with SARCO Online over on our YouTube channel. Of course, tonight's action very proudly brought to you by VX Gaming, NASCOM, and Deliver Your Parcel.
So while we just wrap up the final points, we will go in and just have a chat to some of the drivers just to see how they enjoyed that race and what their thoughts are for the upcoming events happening this coming Thursday. And there we have it. So we can go back into the lobby, just change these party settings.
Do this more often. This is good fun, man.
Yeah, we should. They should make every Monday this.
Yeah, this is cool, guys.
We usually did Mondays 5x5.
And guys, that is the 5x5 special edition, working our way up to the main event this coming Thursday, the qualifying rounds for the Renault. The final positions are as follows. For the last race, Brandon, Christopher and Jakes, a phenomenal race out there in front, but Brandon managing to take the win there. Fantastic driving there, Brandon.
Cheers guys, thanks.
Well done, Brandon.
And Jake, some very, very interesting moves, taking that slipstream to try and get Christopher on the inside. But Christopher being able to just not leave you enough space, but looking for a way to get around him.
That was team orders.
Great to hear that, Jakes. Great to hear that.
It was team orders.
All right, guys, so we can start off with the final positions. So Bruno, he finishes off in 16th place, watching from the sideline on our YouTube channel. Bruno, thank you so much. You still deserve that point. Then in 15th place, we have, tied 14th is both Terry and Memo with 23 points. Robert, he finishes in 13th with 24. Alvain finishes 12th with 26. Then Troy, 11th, 29. Alex, he comes home in 10th place with 30 points. Pete, 9th position with 37. The Horn Dog, Andrew, 40 points, puts him in 8th place with Duppy, a solid 7th. Marshall, he comes home in 6th place with 46 points, 10 points behind Stephen in 5th. Jakes finishes in 4th place with 67. Brandon, 3rd place with 71. Marius, he finishes in 2nd place with 82 points and 7 points clear. Up at top is Christopher, our 5x5 special edition champion. So Mr. Flat Out himself, thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Once again, I know that Stephen did thank our sponsors, but thank you very much to VX Gaming for supplying us with some funds for the upcoming season, as well as NASCOM, as well as the amazing work they did on our new website. If you haven't seen it, go check out sarcoracing.co.za. And then to the local deliver your parcel, local company here in South Africa can deliver your parcel anywhere. Just quote SARCO in your description and you'll get a great discount off your order wherever you want it to deliver. And just remember, you did hear it from us. So to everyone who raced, thank you so much. To our new commentator who's joined me, Stephen Indeed, or Stephen Dodge as you know him in his real life, welcome and thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you very much, guys. That was great fun.
Thank you, Dylan.
And Alex, welcome and thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it all the way from Norway.
This is proper fun.
Very good to hear. Very good to hear that.
Rough Riders International.
And guys, this is the spirit of SARCO. Yes, we have some incidents, but this is all about the fun. This is why we do it. And all we can hope for is just more of this to come soon. And we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Excellent.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much
Keep
for all the
well,
effort you put
guys.
in,
Thanks,
Dylan.
guys.
Thank you, Stephen.
So to all the guys on the stream,
welcome.
thank you so much for joining us. And until then, keep racing. Thanks for watching.
Excellent.
Yos.
Thanks,
Sure,
guys.
guys.